felt that I was in a safe Jewish place, there was still a part of me that wanted to feel it, that connection with God. And I was nervous that going to Poland was not going to be as impactful for me because I was missing that it factor. But I was so wrong. Walking the concentration camps where our Jewish heritage had been brutally murdered, it changes you. Being with the people that you've studied with all year and who are your family, and everyone feeling each other's emotions, it changes you. When we're standing there in a gas chamber and baby Ezra is crying because this horrible stillness is surrounding you, that changes you. But everyone has a moment, a defining moment in their life that flips this switch. And for me, that happened when we were in Leszczynsk, Poland. There's a famous Rebbe Elimelech, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And we had the honor to go and visit his grave. And so you walk up this little hill, and there's a quaint, simple building at the top. And when you walk in, on the right, there's this open space, and on the left, in the back corner, is this golden iron structure that enclosed his grave. And it said, when you go, you're to write a note, something that you wish for, whether it's healing or something that you know that you need in your life, and you lay it within the golden bars, and it's said to come true. So for myself, I wrote, "Help me find it." Because this it thing, I still had no idea what it was. I didn't know if I was to see it. I didn't know if I was to feel it. But I placed it within the bars, and then we sat down. And sitting in this little quaint area with this Hasidic hymns being sung from the room next to us, I felt this overcoming sensation, this presence that wrapped me. And in that moment, I knew it was God. It was God telling me, hey, you're not lost anymore. I'm here for you. I've been here for you. You just have to open your eyes and see. And that moment struck a chord in me. It changed my perspective on absolutely everything. The way I live my life, my decisions. I'm more careful with what I eat. I make sure I observe Shabbat. It's not something I have to do anymore. It's something I want to do. It's something I've learned about that has changed me into a better person. I am so blessed to have found this organization. You have no idea what it feels like to be on a college campus and feel like you have nobody to turn to. It is so incredibly important that we continue to enhance our Jewish traditions and our culture and to continue to pass it on. It is so important to have Jewish children. It is so critical that we are able to be a growing tradition within this world. The Jewish people for thousands of years have been persecuted against. Thousands of years. In Poland, we saw a physical persecution of the body. But today, we are in a spiritual fight. We are in a spiritual fight for Jewish souls. When you are thinking about giving tonight, think about me. Think about my soul. You helped my soul find its way back to Judaism. It is our responsibility as Jewish people to help the hundreds of thousands of other Jews and their soul find their way back to. Thank you.
I was born in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My family moved to Weston. I had my bat mitzvah in Plantation. What really kind of kept me involved was that I did youth group with a lot of Jewish friends. But when I got into UF, I was really looking forward to that Jewish community, especially with UF being the public university that has the most Jewish students. One day, my friend, she said, "Come meet this rabbi." He was just full of life, full of energy, and he said, "We have all of these trips. Learn more about your Judaism, come hang and schmooze." From there was introducing what a traditional Shabbat meal looks like, learning from the beginning of Bereshis. It was such a perfect time. We can go there and feel grounded that like this is a family that can keep us close to like what it feels like to be at home. Did the first trip, which was YEHUDI in Costa Rica. And we had a Shabbaton before the trip in Miami. We really did not use our phones for most of that trip, and we were so present in both the learning and all of the activities that we did, like zip lining or white water rafting. That summer, I went to Israel for the first time. That's when I tried to keep Shabbat, and I loved it. And 6 months ago, I did the second trip with YEHUDI. We went to Majdanek, we went to Auschwitz, Helmno. We saw things that people really shouldn't see, but need to. In Poland, people could not be free Jews, and they had to die for it. That was like the turning point of like, wow, you realize that you can be like a free Jew, and like you're not exercising that, and it like hits really hard. Academically, I love school and I love learning, but there's no learning like Torah. One day I want a family, I want the practical knowledge. YEHUDI is coming home physically, mentally, spiritually.
I grew up here in Hollywood. I had good Jewish parents, but like many Jews in America, didn't grow up with that strong Jewish education and assimilated into just mainstream American culture. In public schools, I tried to hide my Judaism. When I was at the University of Florida, I took religious studies classes, Christianity, Islam. Ironically, the one system I left out was the Jewish faith. That should have been the first place I looked, but during my time at the University of Florida, there wasn't a YEHUDI. My junior year, I developed this passion for teaching. So I applied for a master's of education at Harvard University. Here I am, 25 years old. I haven't spent any time really discovering what it means to be Jewish. From there, for about a year there at Harvard, I was learning with a rabbi. He convinced me to go off to Israel for 2 weeks to learn. It was like a new world was opening up. For the first time in a long time, I felt connected to Judaism, to my own identity. During that time, I remember walking into this coffee shop in Yerushalayim, and there's Rabbi Stillerman and Rebbetzin Stillerman, and they invited me to a Shabbos meal when I got back. And it felt good because I'd spent that time in Eretz Yisrael, but I didn't know if this was the life I wanted to live. The next week, I show up at the Stillerman home for Shabbos. The simcha, the joy, the sense of family, tons of other people in the community. They really spent their time to get to know and to connect to. So I went from this Shabbos table to Shirim at the YEHUDI hub. I learned for like 4 or 5 months with them in order to go on this phenomenal trip to Costa Rica. At the end of the trip, Rabbi Stillerman, he said, you have to make this experience meaningful going forward. That inspiration that I felt was the fuel I needed to take on more mitzvot, to continue learning.